only have to support the mandatory things in the profile. What are you thinking of in particular?
As I say, I've got to study the spec a bit closer again on but the stuff around some of the internationalization language stuff. I seem to recall reading in the spec was optional at this stage. Obviously, all the free busy stuff.
Yeah, that's optional.
What that actually means operationally, I'm not sure. Do I take something like this sample data and just ignore everything in it that's not mandatory?
I mean, from what I understood from Lynn, that's fine. What we're doing from the provider registry side is I'm just gonna go ahead and do everything else. It's not a whole much more work for us to get this in. I've got the bulk of it done. I just still need to get the next step is for me to link with the facilities and the organizations, but all the specific provider only data is done.
Okay.
No, I guess places where there's obvious mistakes and that we need to do a CP. So I've got the operating hours in, the free busy stuff, but that's a little confusing because day of the week, it's a number. I'm not really sure what's 0, what's 1, what country are we in.
No, that's specified in the spec.
Is it? Okay.
0 is Sunday.
Okay.
It's surprising that I know that, since I've got no interest in the free busy stuff at the moment, but I did look that up.
Okay.
What does day 3 mean?
Okay. Cool. Then I guess we're fine. But is there a time zone? There is no time zone, is there? I assume it's just whatever time zone you're. No.
No time zone on the sample data, no.
Yeah, and none of in the. Yeah. Oh wait, isn't excess time? Is that a? Does that include a time zone? Just looking at the schema.
Hey Carl, hey guys, sorry for joining late, New Year. Do you mind pasting the link to the sample data here in the chat window so I can also look? I thought it was in a format that had the time zone implicit, but I may be wrong.
I don't think it is. It's in an FTP directory somewhere on the internet.
Yeah. I guess I'll Google it, right?
Well, she sent it an email.
Yeah, okay, hold on one second.
Now, if somebody can grab the link to just paste it into the group chat, but see if I can find it.
Okay. Yeah, I really should go ahead and stick those her sample data into the Infoman, because that way we can.
She's still just released the one facility, hasn't she? She was threatening to add more.
I can paste them all here if you find it handy.
All right.
So, are you looking at the one from December 2nd? Or wasn't there a more recent one, I thought?
I don't know what date it is.
DC December 27th.
Okay.
There was one that was just code lists, and then there was another one that's had some data. What more?
Okay, I've got the.
So this is.
Okay, this wasn't This wasn't an FTP site. It was actually an attachment to an email. Ed, have you got it now?
Yeah, no, yeah, Martin pasted it
Oh.
in the thing to the side.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm trying not to repeat them, but I have a bunch of Chrome tabs open since for the last couple of weeks with that.
After a while, it's just angled brackets repeating.
Would look
Well,
so much nicer in JSON.
Okay, and no, no providers. Provider status codes. Credential type. Just a few.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is a bit odd. I'm looking at the services for the first time. The service directory entries just show OIDs.
Yeah, there's not really much.
So what do they mean?
Let me just. Services they're basically code lists. So there's.
But they should say what they're a code list for.
Yeah, there should be a type, a coded type underneath it. And it's a required thing, so that must be something that she's missed.
Oh, I see what. Okay, so the service directory just gives you the list of these codes, and then you've got to go to the code list to actually look up what they actually are.
Yeah.
I see.
And I guess this is to allow multiple code sets to be shared. You know, you might have an insurance scheme has its own code sets, and so it's basically a referencing mechanism.
Yeah, no, I see now.
Okay, so I've pushed it up to GitHub and OpenInfoman just to make it a little easier for us to find and use.
Carl, do you have any idea of how this is actually going to go? I mean, what are we actually going to do? If we can kind of choreograph this a bit, we're all going to be sitting there. I see we now have places at tables. And,
Yeah.
So there we sit. It's Wednesday morning. It seems we all even have IP addresses. Or will have.
Yeah.
What is actually going to happen?
I have no idea. There's a video that we're supposed to watch. I don't know if anybody watched it. I've not been to one of these things.
Okay, I'm trying to understand how the sort of bootstrapping is going to happen. Because, I mean, there's a couple of different scenarios that can happen here. I mean, let's say, for example, that you are going to be pulling facilities from the resource mapper facility registry.
Mm-hmm.
Now, are we going to have the same facilities
the Infoman?
Yes, or are you going to have like two Infoman databases that you're going to have to? Because let's say I've got facilities from Sierra Leone or made up ones from North Carolina, and Resource Mapper has facilities from wherever, Tanzania, or made up ones. I don't know. How are we going to run this against you? Are you going to start off blank?
I guess we have to use the dataset, right? I mean, one one of the XMLs we have here has a list of facilities that they expect us to be providing through our respective systems, and those are like the data points where we should be consistent. For example,
okay. So in terms of bootstrapping, then we confine ourselves to the sample data that we've got.
Well, there's no problem if you have more. So you can.
No, we don't want to do more than we need to do. I think to get the bumper sticker. Well, we can do that afterwards, right?
okay, well,
but
that's the XML, the one I just pasted there.
Okay,
That's
which one have you just pasted there? Okay, this is an updated one. All right, this one's got lots.
Yeah. So I have one question, Carl, about that. Are you planning on carrying like a couple of virtual machines? Because I mean, the Infoman is highly, how do you say, stateful, right? In the sense that once you start testing some interactions through it, it will take data from our facility registry and provider registry will cache it, right? And so therefore, after that, like let's say a test run, you will end up with a Infoman that has a certain amount of data and state in it. And then if you want to do another test run from scratch, would you start from another Infoman that's starting pristine to hook it up to another facility registry, let's say the OHIE or whatever? Or would you try to go from the same Infoman, but just redirecting to another facility registry, and then you have all sorts of sync issues and changes and data completeness issues and things like that?
No, I don't. The way I've got the Infoman set up is it can handle multiple directories and querying them. Because all the Infoman has to do from your perspective is just to make the request against the timestamp and load the data.
Yeah, but my point is that we won't get confused, for example, if at 9 in the morning we do a test run and it's accessing, I don't know, the resource map one, and it's got certain pieces of information, and then later on it accesses DHIS, you'll have to either purge your database or add more date range, right, into your query in order to get new facilities from DHIS. And at that point in time, I'm wondering if it's not just easier to start from a scratch one, instead of like maybe having the issues of merging two data sets, which might have like the odd 1 and 0 off. I know that shouldn't be an issue, but otherwise you will have to change that date range or something to import new facilities effectively from DHIS.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me that you're going to be feeding off two registries of the same type.
I mean, the profile is supposed to support that because you might have like the state of North Carolina's facility registry and the state of Virginia's facility registry as an example, right? So it does support federation in that sense, but yeah, I mean, it's easy enough to have two Infomans up and running, I suppose. I mean, it's just
I like the Infomen.
Infomens.
Yeah, I have an Infomen.
No, because I mean, it's just yeah, it should be quite straightforward to do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I mean, that's one aspect of the mechanics that we just need to decide on, I guess. Oh, I'm not sure if it makes any difference. I mean, it will make a difference if, I mean, like me, I'm deciding to truncate some of this data. I'm not going to support the non-mandatory stuff. And you may get an issue there of overwriting what you're getting from one with a slightly different set from what you're getting from another. Even though both are conformant, they may not be identical.
Right. So yeah, no, I mean, what happens is there's a two-part process. First is every point that every directory that's there, it caches into its own collection, and then it does a merge on that. So in terms of there's not going to be any collision between DHIS and resource map and what gets cached into the InfoMan. It's just we just won't perform the merge process because it doesn't really make sense because it's
But we'll both be registries of the same sample data.
yes.
So there's kind of there's a lack of knowledge of which is authoritative. It's different if one was North Carolina and the other was Chicago, wherever else you have registry.
Right. No, and that's fine. What I'm saying is that there's not going to be any worry already in terms of having two different directories, even having the same data. I just won't try to merge those directories together.
Okay.
I mean, they're already, as it is right now, they're already isolated. I mean, that's if you.
Okay, so you're effectively, to answer the question, so you're effectively running two kind of InfoMen registry instances inside the same thing.
Right, kind of like what we have collections in resource map, which allow you to logically partition the data that you're looking at.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because there's the caching and then there's the merging, and I don't know how she's going to be testing the merging since I don't know what that is going to mean, but
Then services and organizations. There's kind of conceived in the big picture that there would be directories for those. In reality, as far as I understand, there isn't. No one is playing that role. Does that?
No.
Do we just kind of bootstrap our system with what we have of the sample data of?
Well, you're not required to know anything about the services or the organizations, just having a list of the references is really all you need, right? All those OIDs.
Yeah. So,
I think we are going to.
but I don't need to be able to dynamically update them against a services registry, for example.
No. All you're required to do is modify facilities and report out the changes that were made by a certain date.
Okay. And yeah, you don't know how all this stuff is going to be measured, whether they're going to be sitting sniffing packets on the network to look to validate. I mean, that's one logical reason for them providing the physical network, I guess.
Yeah.
If you watch the traffic.
I doubt that's going to be the
case. Is it kind of a peer-to-peer thing where you guys say, "Oh yeah, we've received that. That seems okay."
There are
adjudicator
monitors. I
comes
think
around.
somebody's got to come and check. But
this all sounds really quite. It's like a 1980s computer club gathering.
have you seen the pictures?
No, but I can imagine. Are there pictures?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I really wanted to put my instance up on a Lin node or something, and just point you guys at that. Having to run it on my laptop is a bit scary.
Yeah.
Because my laptop has developed a hole in it. I think it's my Bluetooth chip hanging out.
That sounds like a very bad hernia. I would recommend, just from having experience doing a lot of demonstrations and things like that, I recommend being familiar with virtual machines and how NAT settings work and how they work with DHCP, and then carrying a virtual machine image that's pristine and an external hard drive to have enough instances of them, so you can just wipe the slate clean, start with a new one, but also know how to configure them to, for example, get an IP address from the network and so on. So that way, that if your machine dies, at least you can ask somebody else, hey, here's my VM, could you please run it for me? That
makes sense, yeah. I guess we probably run those virtual machines in bridge mode off the Ethernet adapter if it's picking up off the physical network.
Yeah, you just got to know how to configure the thingy. Yeah. And yeah, it does sound like an old-fashioned thing. You have to go and shout "hack the planet" or something, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Scott, I'm going to send you the reference because I'm going to have to tell you where that comes from. Okay, so I'm done. That was my contribution.
Okay. Carl, is there anything we can do to help you move forward, or something that's blocking you from our side?
No, I'm just wanted to make sure that we were all kind of on the same page, at least to what we think is happening.
Okay.
And,
So
and I
guess,
know Bob had some questions and about the data, and it's good to answer them, work them out once in front of everybody rather than. So that's all I wanted to do.
Okay. I was going to start this afternoon with the test data. So I still didn't have a chance to look at it thoroughly. But yeah, I guess our next step would be to have those data sets in place in resource map so that you can pull those specific pieces of information.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, I say we've been a bit delayed. Morten is supposed to be working on this, but we're actually behind on our release. We're supposed to have done a release last week. We're hoping to release today. I guess that's what the main priority has been for us this last week or two. I was hoping Morten was going to make this call. But
is he going to be like your... But he's not been working on it?
Well, we've all been kind of looking at it. Rather than working on it, because we've been working on the release. And discussing a bit about how we're going to actually implement some of these things. Because I mean, for example, I don't know how well you know the DHIS data model, but services and the way we've modeled it in the past are kind of proxied by data sets, because from our perspective, from the HMIS perspective, you're going to report a particular data set because you offer a particular service, right?
Right.
So we have to model those services against our data sets. What confuses, or not confuses, but what makes it a little bit more complex is that we don't just have services being offered by a facility or in a facility. We have services offered by an organization in a facility. That's a slight extension to our model, but one in fact that we've just implemented in the latest release, which should come out today or tomorrow. But these are fairly Spartan objects, if you like. The notion of a service, the notion of an organization doesn't have a rich metadata model around it.
No, I tried to cut it down as much as possible, just so we wouldn't end up with, too much mandatory stuff to do.
Yeah, but it turns out I've been looking at the older sample data sets as well. And now I see this stuff that Martin has posted. It's more complete than what I had. Martin, did this come from mail from Lynn as well?
Yeah.
I got so many mails from Lynn that
in general, I do like a BFS of links. I mean, when Lynn sends like 3 or 4 links, I start like crawling for 3 or 4 degrees in the graph of links, and then try to bookmark everything. So that's the way I trace that. Yeah, that's recent. I think that's no more than 2 weeks ago or something like that. I don't know, Carl.
Okay.
When did Lynn send those last data sets?
Yeah, that was the 27th.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Martin, we need you to come and work for us for a week. Can we borrow you? Carl, you said you were going to stick these up on GitHub, did you?
Yeah, I just posted the link. They're there.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
So I can that one demo site that I have up. I'll just pull in those changes, and then you can easily turn on those if you want to take a look at them. You should be able to then do the queries. So the Open Info Man also is a service directory for any of the sample directories or what it caches from you guys, but I'm not going to test that.
Oh, okay. So, sorry, Carl, what do you mean by that? That you put this sample data into OpenInfoman in a way that we can query it as a directory, or you said you're not going there right now?
I mean, I have done that, but I did not register that as for the Connectathon to test against it.
Oh, okay.
But in case we want to start comparing results and stuff, we at least have a couple different service directories with the same data that we can look at.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Although the JavaScript that is there, it's a little quirky sometimes to do the calendar and the date.
Will we know in advance what test data we have, or they?
This is the test data.
Okay, they're not going to throw us new test data on the floor.
No.
All right, so I can have a controller that just returns this data. I'm not going to do that, no. But this is the data. Cool.
What I don't remember having seen is a battery of tests that are going to be executed during the Connectathon. I don't know. Do you know, Carl, if there's an example test suite or something like that?
I don't know that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good question.
In a conversation we had like a couple of days ago, you mentioned that they would probably ask us to create 1 or 2 facilities with some properties, and then they would check that the CSV request adapts a response accordingly. So, do you know who we should ask for that, or if that's something we can ask, or we just have to go blind to the Connectathon and?
I mean, we can ask Lynn.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
So,
but I don't know if she'll be willing to share. I think, I mean, 6 months ago she said something like that's what she was thinking of doing, and it, however you need to make the changes on your side, it doesn't, you can go into the database and change things by hand if you want. You don't have to do it through the user interface. So I mean, there's no requirements on how that data gets updated. It's just that she wants to see that.
Yeah, sure. That it's just that it would be a good piece of documentation about what the intent of the tests are.
Yeah.
The intent of the whole Connectathon. I mean, what's the goals? That would be.
I mean, I would imagine it'd be something like, okay, change the facility name and show me that it's been updated, or add a new facility, show me that it's been updated.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's. I mean, I think it's going to be fairly minimal at this point.
Okay.
So, I mean, given the small number of us and the small number of tests that we have, I mean, if everything works, then we're going to be done by Wednesday evening, are we?
Yeah.
Hey, is there any reason not to actually do a dry run before online?
I can do that as much as, I mean, you guys can point to the open info, man. That's already there for you guys to do that part.
No, but I mean, it's like to let like arrange a time, and we actually like do it together. Because it's one thing to say, hey, there's the website, and you figure out how to use it. It's another thing to put on the, the dress rehearsal costumes, and then just like, prance through the motions that we would do over there, and just try to see if there's any obstacles once, just as a rehearsal.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah,
fine.
sure. I'll play Lynn.
No, I'll play Bob. Okay, so no, that's something also that helps a lot, because otherwise there's all those little aha moments that might happen.
Yeah, and,
I
and
agree. It's a good idea.
it's not a you try one time and you fail and that's it. It's the intention is you try and you fix it.
Yeah, but
So-
the idea is not to go with the predictability of failure.
No, I'm not
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
that at all. But I'm saying, I don't.
Yeah, I'm not worried one way or the other. It's just that one of those things that sometimes you say, instead of like sitting here for 3 hours, I might as well just go get a coffee. You want to have that freedom, and it's the little things that get you. So I in the demonstrations that I've done, I've never been regretting doing the dry run.
No, I'm not saying. I'm not
Yeah.
making argument against it. I'm just.
Okay, got it.
I'm,
Should we schedule it now, or?
Sure.
So given the preparations we still need to do, when would be a good time to think about doing that? Like a week before the Connectathon or sooner?
When is the Connectathon again? It's the 29th?
29th. I'm just thinking like 2 weeks from now is the 23rd.
We could do it on the next facility registry call. Is that what you're saying?
I don't want to keep chewing up facility registry call time, but I'm just thinking in terms of my time scales, it's probably going to be round about then that we'd have something that might work. It sounds like a resource mapper guys might have something a bit early. I mean, they've already been doing stuff against your Infoman. But yeah, in principle, it's a very good idea to kind of know before you get there whether you have something that's already working or not. Then we just hopefully go through the motions when we're on the floor.
Mm-hmm. How long would it take, do you think, to do a dry run, Carl?
Not long, right? I mean, you gotta just, we could do our sample. We have to figure out what we're testing, right? We just write out okay, add a new facility with this name and these things, and link the facility to this organization and whatnot.
Okay, so like an hour or two, you think, would be sufficient?
Yeah.
Maybe we can ask Lynn before. Maybe she's willing to share something, and we can save that guessing. Otherwise, we could do that. Put together our own tests. But
Yeah, if we could ask Lynn for some more hints of a kind of a script of what it is that we could expect.
I can send her an email. I mean, I don't know her personally, but I guess it's okay, right?
Yeah, and I think we could just ask her on the list.
Okay, great. I send a message there as a follow-up to this meeting. And otherwise, we put our own tests together. But let's give it a try.
All right, sorry, I was just looking at my calendar for when we could schedule something. I mean, I think it would be great if for our next facility registry community call, we could maybe pivot a little away from CSD stuff, since it's been, taking up a lot of our previous calls. Would you guys be open to setting up something separate, either, maybe in the afternoon of Thursday the 23rd or some other day in that area?
I think your afternoons generally don't work well for me because they get into my evenings.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Your mornings are probably kind of crowded on calls. But if possible, I don't like going too much later after this one. It's just logistically difficult because all the kids get home from school and
Yeah,
shit starts flying around the house.
I mean, we could do directly before that call on the 23rd, so that would be like 8 or 9 a.m. Eastern time, which maybe like 2 or 3 your time, Bob.
Oh, that's an hour or two before this one, is it?
Yeah, would something like that work okay for you guys, or?
No, that works for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
We should also get Ryan to open him.
Yeah, is he normally on that the Rwanda Rhea call on Thursday mornings, or is he free from those?
Sometimes is, sometimes isn't.
All right, maybe I'll start trying to coordinate with him, but maybe tentatively we can block off some time on before the facility registry call on Thursday the 23rd to do a dry run. Martin, Ed, does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, great. Yeah, I'll send out a calendar invite just to kind of block off the time initially, and then we'll confirm as we get closer.
Okay.
But Martin, I think your idea of following up with Lynn and maybe trying to flesh out some of the things that she'll be proposing is a good one. So perhaps you can follow up on that after this call.
Yeah, sure. I will.
Okay, great, guys. I have a question for you too. Maybe we kind of touched on a few of these things, but are there any other kind of major risks with the Connectathon coming up that you guys see, like stuff that is worrying you at night for when we show up for this Connectathon? Or do you think through this kind of like trial run or test run, we'll flush most of those things out?
I'm worried about where to find beer after the Connectathon, considering how I don't want to go outside.
I can help you out with that. I grew up in Chicago, so I'll point you to some good places.
Yeah, I have bad experience of Chicago. Well, good and bad experience of Chicago, I say. I've never been this time of the year.
And I hope that the whole cold issue with the airlines and so on frees up because unfreezes, because one of the issues that are happening now is that there's a lot of flights being canceled and whole itineraries that are on hold. Mm-hmm. So there should be enough time for that to clear up.
Yeah, by that stage the freeze will probably have reached Ireland and I won't be able to take off. We've been having unseasonably mild weather, which I think is related to what you guys are having. Carl, one thing that's that the CSD is still a little bit of a malleable thing, right? There's a little bit of a moving target. I see change proposals coming in. There's always things that kind of need fixing. Do we have a notion currently that there is a sort of edition that will be tested on the day, or are some of these kind of changes and fixes that we might make between now and then going to be incorporated in what we do with our testing?
Well, everything that's in ballot or on stage for ballot, those we can consider basically as what we're testing against. So like the changes to the SOAP request things, we'll use what's in the CP. And if stuff comes out, then they're pretty flexible because they understand that this is a new profile, and if we need to make a change, then that's okay.
Yeah, but it's not actually a profile yet. It's a, what do they call it?
Trial implementation.
A trial implementation that we're doing.
It's not final text, no.
So, I mean, the risk in a sense is fairly low. I mean, it's a fairly low value bumper sticker in a sense. So I mean, I'm not staying awake too much at night.
Yeah. No, I mean, but they do have profiles, like the HPD profile has been in trial implementation for 3 years, but there's lots of architecture being built around it.
Good.
So I don't think it's gonna hold up adoption.
The thing of names, I never made a CP for that, but did you? The fact that in terms of, and I see it doesn't appear in the sample data, I see the facility only has the space for one identifier and there's just a primary name in it. We have mechanisms for extending that. But as far as I recall, that involves giving a facility a surname and a first name, because the name kind of inherited from providers, I suspect.
Yeah, the other name. Yeah, that's messed up. So yeah, if you put that into a CP just to change the other name to a different type, then we can go ahead and fix that. I thought the other ID is fine. It has multiple IDs.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's just the name. The other name was the wrong.
It's the wrong construct, though.
Yeah.
I mean, all we required there was a simple string, I think, rather than a whole.
Yeah. Maybe a string with a language, possibly.
And Mr. Dr. Ms. Well.
Yes. Yeah.
But as far as our sample data is concerned, she's not going there at the moment, at least.
No.
Each thing is being given a single identifier and a single common name.
Yeah, and I think part of it is that they're using us to really do the trial implementation to see what things do need to be fixed. So I think they're going to be fairly lenient on the testing result.
Okay. So I'll try and throw up a Lin node, I guess, with the DHIS running on it, but it's going to be late next week at this stage.
Okay.
Because Morten, who's supposed to be working on this, is in the process of relocating himself to Thailand in order to do it.
Sounds like the right place.
Yeah, but he's flying tomorrow, so there'll be a bit of delay before we get code running. So I'm kind of looking more at structures than code at the moment.
I didn't look at the facility sample data yet, but the contact points, did she include any of those? Did you notice? Because there's two different ways of doing contact points. One is just to give the person that you're trying to reach at the facility, like the main secretary.
Okay. Yeah.
You can either link to a provider or just provide their name and that information.
Common name, forenames, surname.
So you have the option of either linking to a provider or providing some of their demographic details.
Okay. So maybe we could link to your system in that case. I'm not finding the structure for that. I think there. Do you see an example of linking providers from the facilities dataset?
Yeah, hold on. It's not in the sample, but it's in the schema. So let me see if I can share my screen.
Okay.
If you want to look at it.
So on page 79 or something like that. So there's a contact point. Is it that? Or
yeah. Are you seeing my screen?
no. Let me see. Oh, yeah. I'm seeing myself.
All right.
What are you doing on Carl's screen?
So this is the facility, and then there's a contact point or the contact. So what Lynn has is the person data. You could also just link to the provider OID, and then you wouldn't need to provide that data. But since she isn't testing against it, then I don't think we have to really. It doesn't appear that she's testing against it. You probably don't have to worry about it for.
Yeah, that's a pity because it's a lot more interesting to link than to provide everything from every system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is kind of the point, I guess.
But you might not necessarily know who this person really is, and
Yeah, exactly.
So you want to, in legacy systems where you guys probably have contact people, right? But you won't have the provider ID, so we need to also have some transition period, and we can do it this. But I believe the provider element is supposed to take precedence over the person element if you're looking up.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I understand.
All right. Well, anything else you guys were hoping to chat about today related to CSD, or are you guys feeling pretty comfortable with the preparations and next steps?
I am.
Yep.
Bob, feeling okay about everything?
Couldn't be better. Couldn't be better.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
All right. And Martin, you're doing pretty good from our end?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm confident things will work out.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I'll follow up to kind of start to block off that time and make sure that everybody who needs to be at our dry run can be there. And yeah, I'm sure we'll continue staying in touch, just regarding the Google group and preparations via that mechanism as well. Ed, anything else that would be helpful to talk about today? I think we have maybe 10 minutes left on our call, or.
So one of the things that we were brainstorming is things to kick off the year with. I mean, there's been a lot of kind of like federated / siloed activity going on different fronts of the facility registry as beyond CSD over the last half of the year. So one of the things that we like your guys' opinion on. First of all, we wanted to send like a community survey to all the members just to get feedback on stuff. And then to actually, and then to maybe like have a series of demonstration days where different groups and teams that have been working on stuff get to show it, and kind of like set this stage for a lot of lessons learned from the field, and then move in, towards, maybe the end of the winter, summer, whatever it is. Let's say March, and move into April. Into a phase of like, hey, let's take all the learnings and all the lessons from DHIS and Resource Map and Tanzania and Rwanda and whatnot, and give a rev to whatever APIs are needed to help make these systems, better. So that was just an idea. You guys like that as a sketch of a plan, or you have other suggestions? Okay, wow, awesome. Sounds exciting. Yeah, that was the idea. If you have any other suggestions of things that we should be doing, I think it would be great to start showing some of the other apps that are built on top of the facility registry effort, because that will help visualize kind of like the potential. Okay, so that's it.
Ed, so just one quick question. Do we have much evidence of the registry being used at the moment in Rwanda?
Much evidence of what sort?
Well, I mean, is it being used? We know it's been populated, albeit still a bit sparsely.
Well, if you don't know, I'm worried, right?
Sorry?
If you don't know, I'm worried. I thought you were in touch with Randy and team.
No, but I have no idea who uses the thing. That's the Rwanda eHealth architecture Gembi stuff.
Okay, I don't know,
I don't.
Scott?
You have log files. What does the log file say?
No, I don't look into people's log files. Come on. And they have their own server as well.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought you were running off your global cloud whatnot.
Our cloud, yeah.
You and the NS. You and the
I have a
NSA.
login into some collections, and just looking at some of the collections that I have access to, that they gave me access to, there is activity going on that I think is API or automated driven, and that was as short as like 29 days ago.
I mean, Carl, you would know better. Is Iris updating against the facility registry, or planning to?
We are kind of on hold for our work in Rwanda.
Okay.
Just funding issues, but that is going to be the idea. I mean, the idea is that when we get to, we're going to upgrade to the CSD compliant provider registry, and then we'll start pulling in the facilities. But that's more of a call for Richard as to when that happens.
Okay. No, sorry. I'm just looking to see whether anybody had some feedback. I haven't had it.
Yeah, I know there's also interest with the LMIS system in Rwanda to integrate with the facility registry so that they can start, utilizing an MFL there. And I know that PEPFAR at large also has a strong interest in, starting to promote the use of the MFL between its partners for their reporting purposes that they have. So, I mean, there's definitely interest and activity in this sphere in that regard.
Just saying, Scott, you're changing your vocabulary, starting to talk about master facility lists.
That's like the PEPFAR term that they want to use.
Yeah, that's a PEPFAR word. Every people have their own word.
Yeah, I guess just to clarify what I'm meaning, the standardized list of facility data that would be stored within a registry would be the MFL, just to help kind of distinguish those two concepts.
Okay.
Does anybody know anything about any facility registries in Nigeria or any of the states of Nigeria?
Yeah. Actually, we had a pretty decent Nigerian data set in Resource Map like a couple of years ago. Well, 1 year ago or something.
Okay, is Resource Map running live there?
No, there's no reason to have it live there. I think that people were using the cloud instance, but not as the government official thing. It was, I think, an NGO that had a lot of facility census information floating about. I'm going to have to try to remember who was the owner, because I remember seeing at least one big data set of Nigeria, and it was nationwide.
Okay, I'd love to see that, because I'm heading out there in February to do provider registry work. And
I can.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, sorry, I cut you. You hadn't finished.
No, I'm heading out to Nigeria in February to do provider registry work and to get started with CSD, and so it'd be great to be able to link to a facility registry kind of at the outset.
Yeah, I'll put you in touch with who's working on DHIS there. It's not a place I've followed very closely myself. It's enormously complicated, as everybody knows, Nigeria. Right?
Yeah. Well, that would be great. I appreciate if you, both you and Bob and Ed could get me connected to anybody that might be worth talking to.
Sure.
All right, guys. Well, I guess we're kind of running out of time here. Unless there's anything else, should we wrap up for today? Any closing thoughts?
I'm just waiting for the beer list for Chicago.
I'll get right on that, Carl. I'll figure out wherever the Connect-a-thon's hanging out, and then do like a 3-square block grid around there. We'll zero in on some places. Maybe we could set up a registry just for that. All right, guys.
I think one block is about my limit, Scott. Don't take me beyond one block, unless you're providing a snowmobile.
It just it builds character of the cold. That's what I figure about Chicago. All right, guys. Well, yeah, thanks for joining in today, and we'll look forward to following up on CSD stuff and facility registry things at large. And if you're thinking about any other goals for this community moving forward to address in the next 6 months to a year, definitely let us know, and we can loop that into our process here.
Sounds good.
All right. Well, have a good one. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Talk to you
Bye.
later.
Happy New Year.
Bye.